right, so we are back with another episode, recapping our monthly health and performance conversations. So Colby and I had another one of those with the members here, and another great topic. Loved some of the points that you covered here. And what was the main, how would you summarize the topic? Like, what was the topic? I was having a hard time putting that together in my mind a while ago.
Yeah, all we're talking about is identifying your why. Why are we here training? And the different ways that people train.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. So you had three main whys, and you talked about the difference between them and how, like, if you're focused on one thing, the others may suffer to some degree or something like that.
Yeah.
Right? Okay.
Yes, exactly.
So cool. If I'm not mistaken, the first one was performance. So like if you're training for performance, like let's just talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. The three reasons are performance, ego, or health.
Okay.
Those are the three reasons you train. And like you said, you can only pick one. The other two will suffer in conjunction with those two. So performance, when we talk about and when we think about performance, what we're training for at that point is one specific thing. So if you're a strongman and you're competing in strongman, you don't care about how many pull-ups you can do, how fast your mile is, anything. Your whole training revolves around squatting more weight, deadlifting more weight, or whatever the movements for your event are. So by doing that, so many things are then taking a back seat because your training only revolves around that. That's what we mean by performance.
What about like a professional CrossFit athlete? That's performance-based too, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But they're sacrificing their health because the volume they're putting on their body is causing long-term damage. And they acknowledge this if you talk to the highest ones.
Not sustainable over the long term to
No,
do
not
that
at all.
much volume and that much repetition and things, right?
No, not at all.
Yeah.
And we've been there too. We've tried. Like it does play a toll on your body.
Yeah.
The other thing is if you do this for a living, if you are a professional athlete, meaning like in the NFL, NBA, you're gonna train. Your training revolves around making you better at that sport. If you're in the NBA, it doesn't really matter how many pull-ups you do, or even if you care about that. You need explosiveness, so there's movements that you will do to make you better in your sport. That's all you care about. You're not really concerned about training the most healthy way.
Right. So now when you say performance, though, because a lot of us, you know, that in the gym here, like we do care about how well we do.
Absolutely.
That's not necessarily what you're talking about, right? It's a different kind of performance.
Yes,
for what?
We are trying to constantly get better, but we think of getting better a little bit differently, right? We want to be as well-rounded. We want GPP, general physical preparedness. So what that means is we want to get better at a lot of different things. So we believe that health is how good you can do a lot of different things. So you can back squat. All of us here can back squat. There's a lot of people that are strong enough, but most people can't do a handstand walk. So you would want to put more energy into that part of your fitness, knowing that once I can do that, my overall health has gone up.
Right.
And what happens is the more things you can do, the things that you are already good at get better sometimes.
Yeah.
So we're playing this game of
We do see it
raising
all the
roof.
time. Yeah. Everything seems to get slightly improve, or even just the technique of it seems to get better, even though maybe the numbers, don't necessarily improve.
Absolutely.
Or sometimes they do. I mean, So also, to take the example of like a professional athlete back to what we're doing too, if you're so obsessed about one lift or one movement or one workout, that's not as optimal as focusing on what you're saying, which is trying to become as well-rounded as possible and putting your efforts in the places that you need more work.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And understanding that's the program you're in. When you sign up for a CrossFit gym, we're in a program that's training you to be as functional of a human as you can possibly be. That's why we vary all the skills we do, the workouts, stay fresh. It keeps you hitting all the different points for health and performance in general. Yeah, performance increases as well.
Cool. Awesome. So anything else on the performance piece?
I just wanted to and this may, just understanding that performance, some people, there's another level of people that I think are training for performance, and that kind of goes in line with strongman, is if you know you have a special gift. If you out of the gate run a 3-minute marathon and you haven't done hardly any training, you might be a special person that, hey, in your lifetime, maybe you could compete really high up in the marathon level. So if you choose to do that with your life, that's fine, but understand that your health is going to take a back seat because your training is going to have to revolve around setting that marathon world record.
Yeah.
So those are the other people that might just want to be performance-based training only, not general training.
What about like if you have a personal goal? Like say, we have people all the time, they're like, I want to run a marathon, and they start to put together some kind of a training program for it. That might be something similar, right? You have a specific goal, performance goal for a short period of time. Other things might suffer or sacrifice because you're so focused on that one thing. So if you do that temporarily, maybe it's fine, but you want to always come back to this kind of general preparedness way of doing things, right?
I think it's a double-edged sword because I think training here, I know I could go run a marathon right now and I'd be fine.
Absolutely, yeah, we've proven
so
that.
So if you just want to do it to say you did it, then just train this way. Don't ruin your body by beating your knees into a ground by adding 30 miles of running a week.
Cool.
So it's kind of just whatever you want. If you just want to do it, train this way and go do whatever you want because you'll be really functional.
Yep.
If you want to set a record in it, your health will take a backseat.
Yep. So if you're focused on just a specific number, a weightlifting goal or something like that, other things may suffer or sacrifice versus coming here with an attitude of, I just want to get better at everything that we're doing.
And
be a very functional, capable human being.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, cool. So the second thing that you talked about was the other scenario is ego-based training, right?
Ego-based training.
And we love this because we were there. I mean, for our first few years, like, we did the freaking 2-a-days and the Catalyst Athletics squatting programs and the Olympic lifting programs, and sometimes we'd do the workouts that were programmed, sometimes we wouldn't.
Mixed with the gymnastic little program that we found.
Right, yeah.
So
I paid money for that.
Yeah, it was relentless, right?
Yeah.
So, and at the end of the day, really what that bought me was hurt elbows. My knees hurt constantly. I had hip pain. Our numbers were up a little bit, our times, but even my movement quality was not nearly as good as it is now.
Yeah, the increases in squats and lifts and things weren't anywhere near what you would expect with the amount of volume that we put into that stuff, man. That was crazy.
Yeah.
But so tell us a little bit more about the ego piece of it.
So yeah, it's just
some examples.
Examples, and we got these from ourselves and talking to members, and it's understanding why we're actually here. So I'll go through some things, and this is if you say to yourself these things, you are ego training. There's no way around it. You're missing the point that we're in here to exercise and build a strong body. So one of them is say we're in a weightlifting day, we just had back squats. Your form starts to suffer, meaning your chest starts to cave in, or you aren't able to hit range of motion. If you did get low enough, like right below parallel, which we know you can, you wouldn't be able to stand back up. So you just shorten the range of motion to finish the lift. And then after we say, hey, you need to get lower, we walk away, you add more weight on top of that. You are missing the point at that point.
And the squat usually looks worse.
And then you add more weight and the squat suffers even greater. You aren't even getting lower now. The chest is dropping even more. There was no reason to add more weight. You're actually possibly going backward. You just increase your risk for injury, decreased your risk for getting better.
And so they're completely ego-driven.
Yeah, it's only ego. The only reason you would do that is because you want to put a score and quantify.
Yeah.
That's it.
Or, I mean, and we can relate to this. Like, like you're in this crowd and there's that whole, it's like you want to do as good or better or something. There's a little bit of that competition, which we kind of feel that, but it's having this awareness to notice, like, I'd rather do the right thing than try to get a better number for the sake of getting a better number and sacrifice this, something like that, right?
Totally. Or just taking a step back with the bigger picture. We're just a small little gym with a class of 20 people. You back squatting more than that person's kind of irrelevant because there's power lifters that are, warming up at that weight.
Yeah.
So understand we're back squatting to make a strong body.
Yeah.
You don't. So
another example.
Yeah, another example. You don't like workouts that you can't do RX. I feel like if that's ever entered your brain, which it could, right? But we need to immediately pull out of that and remember why we're working out. We're trying to just make a stronger body. We're not working out to do a workout RX. We've missed the point if that ever enters our brain, because that is we're missing a chance to get better at that point.
So if you notice yourself not wanting to do a workout, or even maybe forcing yourself through some movements or some weights that you probably couldn't or shouldn't do, then that's just an opportunity to pause and notice, okay, well, this is my ego's getting in the way of what I really need to be doing.
Yeah, acknowledge that, show up still, and try to get better at the movements you aren't good at. It's that simple.
Yep.
You will miss the stimulus of the timed workout to do it RX'd. So we have time caps. These are, and sometimes we hit or miss, but usually I'm spot on. You want to hit under the time cap. If you are constantly time capping, you're not modifying the workout appropriately to hit the stimulus we're looking for that day. And we want a wide range of stimuluses, knowing what we're training for, general physical preparedness.
Yep. And also, if you're staying later to do the rest of the workout, like you're missing the point.
Yeah. That means you're only training one stimulus at that point.
Yeah.
I'm always going to go slow, and I'm just going to go and finish it no matter what.
What's an example of that? Like someone going, what's an example of a
so
workout?
Say a Fran, supposed to be done under 5 minutes. That's 21, 15, 9 thrusters and pull-ups, and you do it in 12 minutes. Like, you've missed the point of it. It would have been way better to either cut the reps back and then be able to push in that little 5-minute time zone, that really painful place. That hits the stimulus we want.
Yeah. Cool. So yeah, that comes up a lot. And again, like it all with good intentions. People wanting to finish the workout, do a little bit heavier weight or something, but understanding that there's a reason that throughout a week or a month we have varying durations of workouts, varying intensities, varying weights and things, and it's all relative to what you can do as an individual. The numbers that you're putting out there are a number for maybe like an ideal athlete or some kind of a person, and that's not necessarily what each person needs to be doing.
Yeah, since we're on the subject of RX, we might as well address that. How do I come up with these RX weights, right? And I'll be honest, it goes around the best in the gym. So I look at who we got in the gym that's putting up kind of the best times or been around the longest, and I'm trying to program a stimulus for them. So if I program 225, the person I'm thinking of should be able to cycle that pretty easily. If I program 315, that's something, okay, that's going to be 1 rep at a time. So it's just kind of, I program for the best in the gym, and then we modify down to try to hit the stimulus.
Yeah. So if you have a question about like what you should be doing or could be doing, I think the coaches, because y'all do a really good job at kind of briefing, like how to brief the workout, and the coaches are very consistent with what they say. This is what we're looking for in this workout.
Yeah.
Modify accordingly. So if in that moment you feel like you want to do something different that you know is going to take you longer or be different than what we're looking for as far as the stimulus goes, that's the time to sit there and pause with it and then just realize, okay, I'm looking to get a certain stimulus out of this to build the most amazing and beautiful body that I possibly can, and healthful body, right?
Exactly. Yep.
Cool. You got any more examples?
No, I would always err on the side of caution. I would always go less. If you ever have like a moment, I would go less rather than push the boundary, because we always know consistency is what gives us the results we want. So if you take that risk that one day and it takes you out for a week, like that's definitely not worth it in the long run at all.
What about, because we have some people, like you do, recently you've been doing more of these no measure workouts, which a lot of people love and some people have an issue with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
I actually have a thing here. You say that it's not worth my time to do no measure workouts. Just goes back to you're missing the point of what we're doing.
And what do you mean by no measure workouts?
Meaning like they're usually for movement quality. It gives people a time to take the pressure off of them by posting a score.
We're not logging a score.
We're not logging scores. Yeah, we're not logging weights.
Or how much you did, or something like that, right?
Yeah, and I've really liked it because it's given people a chance to slow down and get better at their movements. And what that is should bleed over when we are timing things and stuff, understanding that I still want to move like that in those scenarios as well.
Yeah. No, I love those because it does feel like the pressure is off.
Yeah.
And you really can focus on the movements. And there's going to be another day that you do have a 4-measure workout using the similar movements, and that's the time that you can really test yourself.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
Cool. What else? Anything else in the ego piece of it?
We've been introducing some new kind of gymnastic balance movements.
Ooh, yeah, like the front scale, back
yeah.
scale.
So if you see those and you're like, front scales and back scales are pointless, and you're not even good at them.
Or yeah, like what's the point in doing them?
Yeah.
Like it's...
the people that usually say that aren't able to do them. That's why they're saying that. So that's part of your ego's talking.
Yeah.
You can't do this movement very well, and it's very a basic thing. Stand with your hands and balance on one foot. You're not able to do it.
Yeah.
So you should flip that and try to get better at them.
Yeah.
We've been doing this kind of religiously for a couple months now, and I'm feeling it translate into everything we're doing.
Yeah, I do
I
too.
feel more sure on my feet. I feel more connected in my kips. Like it just has been a game changer.
Yeah, there's a reason that we're putting those things in there. Like
Yes.
it's helping facilitate everything else that we're doing and just general health. I was thinking about something with that too. Like maybe a good practice is in those moments of like, this is something that I'm not familiar with, I'm not comfortable with. Why were we doing this? You know, like anything that seems relatively new is going to be slightly uncomfortable because you can't do it very well.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of us like try to look at that as a challenge. Like how much better can I get at this? Like let me spend some time on this and tinker with it. And it's kind of amazing how fast you adapt to these things and how much better you get and how quickly you get at it.
Yeah.
And it does translate into your other movements.
And it carries over into the fun movements that we like doing.
Yeah. And it's a break from the brutality of some of these other really brutal workouts for time. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, that's a great point. One of them is the reason we would do them is to build a stronger body so we can handle these bigger movements and handle the intensity without risking getting hurt.
So it's almost like programmed rest, but it's active rest because we're focusing on other supportive movements and muscles and systems and stuff like that. Yeah, that's another reason that I love it. And I could see someone saying, yeah, I really like these kind of more brutal workouts, and why are we doing these? But then when you understand, like, we have to have this ebb and flow. We have to have this back and forth of intense and not intense and heavy and not heavy and long and short. And that's what facilitates and builds a healthy, amazing,
a healthy human body. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's one last one, and I think this one's great. You would rather hit the standards of a movement than worry about doing them for what they are made for. You know, so two main movements come to mind. Kettlebell swings, they're great for building strong back, strong hamstrings and butt. But if you're just opening the hips, pulling the kettlebell and locking your arm out, we are missing why we're doing kettlebell swings. You are only doing that for your ego and to put a time up. They are faster that way, but you're not getting the benefit that way.
So what you're saying is there's movement standards, and if you're just trying to hit that standard so you can get that score or to do the weight, and you're not doing it the way that maybe we're recommending doing it because that's going to give you the most healthful benefit, you're missing the point of it, right?
Yes.
So like in the kettlebell example, you can just punch it up. You hit the standard by having it all the way up overhead, but the more beneficial way would
be to catch, keep the arm straight, go through it so you're really loading, you're having to brace your core, you're hitting all the muscles that we want to build.
Yeah. Even though it counts the other way, it's not as beneficial.
And it's doing something, right? Something's happening. But we're here doing it. You might as well try to get the most out of what you're doing.
Yeah. What's another example?
Med ball cleans, you know, doing a double squat instead of hinging over as you go down and then doing a full squat. You're hitting the standards. The ball's touching the ground and you're squatting and standing. But you're missing the benefit of building that motor pattern.
Okay, so explain that to me again, the double squat versus like, what's the just hitting the standards example?
So the just hitting the standards would be the ball's on the ground, I bring it up, I do a squat, and I stand. That's the standards, right? That's all that has to happen. But if you just squat it down, keep your chest up, and don't hinge over to activate your glutes and hamstrings every rep, you've now missed that component of that movement.
Okay, got it.
Another one, and this is more blatant and it's a little bit harder, is you're bouncing out of the bottom of every air squat. You now are really at risk of hurting your knees and hip flexors.
To try to go fast.
To try to go faster. You are hitting the standards. You're getting low enough, you're standing up. But you're bouncing out of the bottom. You're actually not building your legs at that point. You're ruining your knees.
Yep.
So it's like these movements are great for building bodies, but they can really hurt you too. Because we mess with some high volumes because the best athletes need to play with higher volumes.
Yeah.
So understanding where you're at and what dictates that is, am I moving well? Your body will tell you when you need to rest. If you can't move well anymore, it's fine. I just need to rest. I don't need to keep going and start bouncing or anything like that.
Yeah. So it comes back to, again, just being deliberate with your movements, noticing when you're starting to fall apart.
Yep.
You know, and checking with your coach about modifications or something like that if you need to.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Cool. All right. So then we had, I think the final.
The final one was health.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's just some good points here on like how to approach the training and understanding what we mean by health. Prioritizing staying out of pain. So if there's a movement right now that bugs you, get with a coach. Find out how you can modify things to make this not get aggravated. And right now we have some really good programs that can help you get out of pain to get you back into classes. Showing up as often as you can with the intent to get a little bit better every single day, not just killing yourself every single day. So showing up consistently, everyone that shows up consistently usually gets the best results.
Yeah. And if you show up consistently, because of the way you program, we're not at risk of overtraining, right? Because you have this ebb and flow of time durations and intensities, and you've got like the for no measure workouts and the front scales, back scales, and these new movements that we're learning. There's a reason those are built in there. It's because you're envisioning maybe someone working out most days during the week or something.
Yeah. And there's days that you can do that with your own self. Say you are pretty beat up. I do this all the time. I'm beat up from Monday, Tuesday. Wednesday shows up. I'm like, I'm just going to go a little lighter today. I'm going to modify things. I'm going to move because I like working out, but I'm going to use it as more of a recovery day than anything else.
Yeah. What else in the health realm?
Trying to do things that you can't do yet. So that is how we think of health and wellness. It's not how heavy you can squat or how fast you can do a workout. It's how wide range are the things that you can do. The more things you can do, the fitter you are. And I'll just try to explain this graph really quick. A good analogy would be you have a graph, a bunch of weights and times on this side, a bunch of movements at the bottom. You have back squat all the way up to 500 pounds, so that dot's really high on the scale, but then you have a handstand walk that's 0. So the curve would be really high on back squat, 0 at handstand. If we can lower that back squat to 315, get our handstand walk up to 50 feet, now the curve, we have way more stuff like area under our curve. Which the more area we have under our curve, which is the more things we can do, the healthier we are and the fitter we are.
Yeah. So looking at things that you can't do as opportunities to work on something different and to make yourself better.
Absolutely.
Because I remember in our, when I was working out with you in the garage in our early days, like I loved workouts that had deadlifts because I'm like, oh yeah, I'm really good at deadlifts. Or I loved workouts that had squats. And then if it had muscle ups or if it had handstand, anything like those would be days that I would cherry pick and not want to go, right?
Yep.
Until like you started ingraining in me, like, okay, well, the only way you're ever going to get better at any of this stuff is to come and either tinker with it or work on the modifications that lead you up to be able to do those things.
Absolutely.
And back in the day, I mean, you remember I couldn't do an overhead squat?
No.
I couldn't do anything. I mean,
we worked on
and you were the same way. Like you couldn't do an overhead squat.
My overhead squat, I did not do for the first 5 years because I had no one to front squat even. I avoided that like the plague. Hurt my wrist. When I finally got a coach to help me and got me into it, everything started to get better overall.
Yeah, and that's what we're trying to do here is we're trying to develop a well-run person, give them opportunities to work on these things that they might not be good at. And if you feel uncomfortable or don't like certain things because they're uncomfortable, that's your indication to say, hey, I need to work on this because it's the only way that I'm going to get better. And as I'm working on these different things, I'm developing a more well-rounded person.
Yeah, totally. Yes.
Cool.
I love it.
So to bring it back, so we have these 3 different ways that we can be training or intentions behind why we would be training, right? We have the performance one, and if you're focused on just performance, just hitting a number, just increasing your back squat or your snatch, you're probably missing out on the true health benefits of what we're trying to do.
You definitely are.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then same thing, ego, like if I come in, all I care about is the score, if I'm trying to push myself past what the duration is because I want to finish the workout, or I'm not modifying to hit the
desired
stimulus that we're trying to hit, then I'm missing the point and I'm not getting all the health benefits that I could be from it over the long term. And then health is the best way to go because we're developing a well-rounded person.
Yeah, well, health is the program that we are. So if you're signed up for a CrossFit gym, we are a health methodology.
Yeah.
That is at the core of what we're doing. So if you don't want to be healthy and try to improve in this, like this is not the program.
Yeah.
Because we do mix everything up. We're going to give you everything like that.
And it just so happens over time, most people, especially if you're eating real food and you're trying to optimize your sleep and the other things that we talk about, and you're committed to this workout, way of working out and looking at things the way that we just talked about, we just happen to see like improvements in just about everything that we care about improving in.
Absolutely.
Like things get better over time. So.
And we do the own thing. Like I'm doing my own program, I only take my own classes, and we eat the way.
Yeah.
So.
And that's a good segue. Yeah.
Yeah. So now we can also approach this the same way with nutrition and lifestyle. There's ways to do it, right?
Yeah, it's almost identical. Yeah, people come in, they have certain intentions, and they're probably missing out on the true health benefits of what we're trying to do if they're focused on one thing, So what's one thing that we hear people come in for when they want to change up their food? Like, what are they trying to accomplish?
They want fat loss.
Fat loss.
I want to be shredded.
That's the priority, right? So I think we would say the same thing about like what you just said about those 3 different ways of training, the same thing with nutrition. If my focus is just one thing, everything else is going to take a back seat and suffer, where the focus needs to be health. So if I'm trying to just focus on fat loss, then because my focus is so geared towards fat loss, I'm missing out on the opportunities to improve my health over the long term by doing all the things that we talk about. And there's a lot of crazy ways that you can lose weight that are not sustainable over the long term.
Yeah.
You know, so typically, you know, like you're trying to maybe reduce calories and be skimpy on, you know, a lot of the fatty cuts and things that we usually recommend people consume because of their nutrient density. And then also, you know, maybe eating a little bit more raw foods and things like that. But you may see some temporary results from that, but you're not going to see the most health benefits from it, because what we recommend for health is nutrient density, nurturing the body's ability to tap into fat stores for fuel, and that gives you the fat loss that you want over time. But for a lot of people, it doesn't give it to them as fast as they want it sometimes.
And you know, then you start the cycle. You talked about sustainable, so we see this even all the time. We lose a bunch of weight, we can gain it all back. Lose a bunch of weight, gain it all back. We want a program that we can sustain for a lifetime.
Yeah, and you're losing weight by forcing some kind of restriction in the short term to see some short-term results. But if you're not adopting habits that are going to sustain you for a lifetime, you're just going to have that little yo-yo back and forth thing, which is why we're trying to teach some foundational principles that are livable for a lifetime.
Absolutely,
you know?
yes.
So same thing can be said for performance. You know, like if I'm trying to eat in a way that, like, I'm trying to bulk up, you know, we hear that a lot. Like
we went through that too.
Yeah, we went through phases of just trying to eat as much as we could and put on as much muscle as we could. You know, when you're trying to eat for performance, you can't be skimpy on anything. In fact, you probably want to be excess everything so your body has as much stuff to work with as possible. But if you're focused on just eating for performance or just eating for putting on some bulk, you can't have it both ways. Like, you're not going to be able to lose fat and bulk up at the same time. That's almost impossible. And you're also probably sacrificing some of the health benefits of eating real food the way that we recommend eating real food. And then what's the third one that we usually come across a lot?
Well, I want to just about that whole bulking thing. It's like there's an optimal body weight for a healthy human to do certain things.
Yeah, absolutely.
So bigger does not mean healthier. That's ego-driven only.
Yeah.
Because you want to be the big guy walking around. But bigger guys have a way harder time doing pull-ups and running.
Yeah.
So everyone has this optimal body weight, it feels like. And as you train this way and eat this way, you start to take this certain shape. And it shows in the people that are doing this. We kind of start to look similar.
Yeah, yeah. I think the best approach when it comes to the nutrition piece is just eating 100% real food as often as you can. And we understand that that's a challenge for a lot of people, especially starting out. You know, like where we're at with this, because we've been doing it for so long, it may seem relatively perfect to someone starting out. But we weren't always like this. It wasn't always this easy. Like, we've been tinkering with this for a really long time. But the most optimal way to approach all of this is eating 100% real food according to our definition and our guidelines, trying to eat for nutrient density, eating things that give the body the most stuff to work with, and also trying to nurture the body's ability to tap into fat stores for fuel. And if you do that and you just do the programming here, keeping these 3 attitudes in mind and really having a focus on doing things right and for health, magically, all the things that most people are looking for from something like this start to happen.
Yes.
You lean out. Your body composition does
very
start to
desired
optimize.
look.
Yeah. And the musculature and all that stuff starts to come into play. So we have people that come in here sometimes and they're like, you know, we hear it. Like, they complain about certain things not getting better or not being able to do certain movements or not losing weight in a certain way. And our first question is always, how's your food? How's your nutrition? Like, how is that? Because it's not about training more or doing RX or, you know,
not at all.
Any
We'd
of the
be
ego-based
lying
stuff
if
that
we
we're talking
did
about.
say any of that stuff.
Yeah.
We're only saying what we know is the thing.
Yeah. And we're here to help. I mean, that's the biggest thing too. I mean, when we ask questions and we interact with people on a daily basis and we're just like, hey, how are things going? What can we do to help you down your path? We really mean, like, what can we do to facilitate this? Because we know we've been there.
It's
We're
hard.
not always where we're at, and we still have a lot of improvement
still
too.
having
We're
our
still
stuff.
tinkering with it.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's like, what can we do to help you down your path? Because I think the best way to get everything that you're looking for from something like this, unless you're a professional athlete, you know, or unless you have some specific thing that you're working on or some gift like you were talking about, is to eat 100% real food the way that we recommend people doing, and then showing up with intention and doing things deliberately and listening to the coach and things like that.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Just remember why we're here.
Yeah. Cool. So I think that's about everything that we covered in the talk. Is there anything else that we touched on?
No, I just want to say like this, this was basically my ego thing. This is how I got all these points, right? It's speaking from personal experience.
Yeah.
And then understanding when I kind of let go of that is when everything started to get better for me.
It's almost a conundrum, right? When you
Yeah.
start to do things this way, everything does get better. The things that you want to get better do get better, versus you focusing on the thing that you think is going to make that thing better. When you just abide by the basics, like everything magically starts to get better.
Yep.
It's pretty awesome.
Totally.
And then also, like, I just want to make a plug for always experimenting too. So when you start to get down this path of you feel like you got the food kind of dialed in, and you're doing relatively decent, we're always experimenting. I mean, that's pretty much what we have our annual progression mapped out for, is to take someone from our 8-week masterclass with food and then take them through some experiments throughout the rest of the year to see what works for them and to keep things kind of mixed up so the body's constantly shifting and adapting. And then we also have thrown in there like our month of sleep and our month of mindfulness and these other foundations that we consider extremely important and beneficial and synergistic with all this other stuff. So
I love it. Should
Cool.
always be trying to make yourself just a little bit better.
Yep.
At that point, if you keep doing that, in a year, you'll be a different person.
Yep, absolutely. So great year coming up, man. We got the masterclass kicking off here January 11th. After we get through that, that's the basics. We start to get into some supplementation, some fasting progressions. We'll probably do like a vegan couple of week experiment, Mediterranean, and then that flexible animal-based omnivore that a lot of us are doing right now. That's pretty cool. And then throughout the whole year, we'll have like sleep progressions, meditation, workshops, and things like that. So you have access to all the stuff and you're exposed to all of it. So we're here to help.
Awesome. Thank you guys.
All right.
And we'll talk to you next time, next month.
Good talk.
It's coming up.